Diane Wilkie, here we go again. You have written another book. First of all, how are you so prolific? I mean, how do you do it? You're just churning them out. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And this is amazing, guys. Again, Diane Wilkie has struck again, but this time because some of the stuff that you've done has ranged from novels to instructional books on prayer and things like. But this one, to me, is one of your masterpieces.
Oh, thank you.
It's called Surviving Domestic Violence: A Simple Guide to Breaking Free. And guys, this book is, to me, it's the Bible of domestic violence, surviving domestic violence. How and why did you write this book?
Well, I used to work in a women and children's refuge, and some of the things that I saw just really got to me. And one of the things that really struck me was that people went into difficult, terrible relationships, and they didn't really have the education to know that they deserve so much better. So I wanted to do something that would be like a map for people who have gone through domestic violence and their journey out of such disgusting situations. A lot of women stayed in relationships that were terrible because they didn't know they had any choice. They didn't know what their options were, and they just felt broken down. So I wanted to do something that would educate them, to let them know that they deserve so much better.
That kind of explains really how in depth you get into this, because you don't just deal with the subject, you deal with the nuances of the subject, you deal with the complexities. You're not just saying, domestic violence, we'll get out of it. You're explaining that sometimes you can't get out of it, even though you know you should.
Definitely.
Why does that happen?
Well, I think one of the reasons is because people, they have wrong thinking. A lot of them think that, they have no options, they've got children, so many different reasons why people find themselves in such a situation. And as I said, I wanted to help them to get out of it and to understand that, they have options. They don't actually need to be in such situations. One of the things that always used to get to me is when we would receive a woman straight from casualty, and she'd come broken, bleeding. And
this is when you worked, because
yes.
It has to be said that you worked in a women's refuge. For how long?
I was there for 11 years.
Okay, so 11 years of dealing with crisis after crisis. Every shift is emergencies.
Definitely.
Every shift is crisis.
Definitely.
Every shift, people coming in with black eyes and bleeding, injuries, as well as brokenness.
Definitely.
And you're processing them every day. So, and this is what you've seen.
Absolutely.
So you're saying sometimes them coming, you were taking a case.
That's right. In the middle of the night, and she would come just with the clothes on her back.
Wow.
And this was a regular occurrence. And one of the things that really struck me when I started to work there, because we were quite a big refuge and we housed about 25 families, and we were always full to bursting. Sometimes we actually had to send women away because we just didn't have the space.
You're trying to tell me there's that much abuse going on like that?
Absolutely.
Are you serious?
The other thing is, it's from all different walks of life. There aren't a certain group. It's just different sorts of people: educated people, uneducated people. It's so rife. So
that was one of the things that really kind of blew me away and really struck me about when you were writing, because I realised that, this is so thorough. You've put people, there's people like Daniel Craig, James Bond in here, because of his experience. It's got people like Nicole Kidman, Charlize Theron, whose mum, I believe, shot her dad, and killed her dad. My God, I was like this. I could not put this down. Obviously, Oprah, we know about Oprah, but you've detailed there and there Patrick Stewart, Reese Witherspoon. And so you really give us case studies, and you really give us profiles.
That's right.
To demonstrate that anybody who walks in the rain is going to get wet.
That's right. Absolutely.
And what this book shows us is that this can happen to anybody.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I detailed, these famous people, to say these are people we know and these are people we admire, but they have been through it. So the point is, if they can get out of it, then there's no reason why we can't all, if necessary.
And also, if they can experience it.
That's right.
It does, because sometimes when people go through domestic violence, they feel stupid.
They do.
They feel like, what's wrong with me?
They do.
Actually, nothing's wrong with you. What's wrong is the perpetuator of the abuse.
Absolutely.
You know, that's where the problem is. But it's funny, because part of abuse is making you look at yourself.
Well, that's important because, you know, people that are abusive are enabled to be abusive. So if you allow somebody to treat you like dirt, they will.
Come on now.
That's human nature. So, you know, the reason for the book is to basically say to women, you're worth there's no price on what you're worth. So you can't, you know, allow somebody to treat you that way and it be okay, because it's not okay. I
hope you're listening. This is good. This is good stuff, because even, you know, and it transcends male female issue.
It does.
I was going to say transcends gender, but I don't want to really go there.
It absolutely does. I mean, the reason I've written this for everybody, but particularly for women, because they kind of go through it a lot more than men do, you know, and children, of course. Children have no choice. They're
collateral
innocent.
Damage of the children, the unwitting victims of stuff like this. And you cover that.
Well, I try.
You cover that. Like, I can't think of an aspect that you haven't covered in this book. This is really like a manual. I mean, physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, honor-based abuse, female genital mutilation, human trafficking, forced marriage, stalking. I didn't know about stalking. It made me wonder if I was a stalker. You know, like sometimes when you really kind of hung up on someone and they're like, okay, I don't want to, and actually, that's for normal people. It's just like, oh, I got upset. But there is that line, isn't there? Where it can become abusive and stalking.
One of the things I wanted to bring out were the symptoms to look for, because often we're just, you know, going along and we don't recognise the signs, and then you find yourself in the situation.
So it's not when the first punch comes that you can say, oh, that's abuse.
Well, often there are so many signs before the first punch.
Like what?
Somebody being verbally abusive to you, speaking to you in a disrespectful tone, you know, if you accept that and, you know, before you know it, they're talking to you like dirt. But if you think about it, when they first met you, they couldn't say the nice enough things. You know, they probably showered you with flowers and chocolates and all the rest of it. And then the next thing you know, they're withholding money and expecting you to provide meals. And, you know, it's just recognising the things to look for, because I think that's one of the main reasons why women, you know, find themselves in these situations, because they don't expect what's happened. You know?
So it's a little bit like people, from what I'm hearing you say, that people can be groomed.
Definitely.
Groomed to into accepting an abusive scenario.
That's right.
It's just not overnight. Maybe it's a little push. Or a little shove, and then, I don't know what came over me. But then once they cross the physical boundary...
Well, this is the thing, because it's all about boundaries. A lot of these ladies don't know about setting these boundaries. And even when they try to, the men are so aggressive that they just, you know, sort of kick the walls down. You know what I mean? And so it's just recognising the signs that, you know, for there's a difference between a healthy and an unhealthy relationship. How do you know the difference? Well, that was the reason I wrote the book, to try and pinpoint.
You cover it. Cover it. It's like you give us like a checklist. And the funny thing is, all joking aside, is that, you know, you get hurt along the way.
You do.
And then it makes you more kind of susceptible to get hurt, because when you have an injury in an area, somebody hitting that it becomes a vulnerable spot.
Definitely.
So
one of the things that I really struggled with when I was at the refuge was, you know, a lady would come to us, and then, you know, we'd see her make amazing progress. And then in a few weeks, she'd be going back. And you'd think, but you can't go back, but you couldn't.
Why do people do that? Why do women do that? Not just women, men, but why do people do that? Like, they're in an abusive situation. It is obvious they are with just a no good person. And they go back. Why? Partly,
some of the reason is because they're groomed. And you know, even though they physically separate themselves, often the man is texting them and threatening them, phoning them. So, you know, my point would be, well, if he's ringing your phone, why are you answering the call? Because you know it's him. or just delete his texts. Don't you know what I mean? But it's so hard to do that in theory.
Yeah.
And so sometimes these women, there's just such a pull that they think, oh, he's threatened me now, he's going to come after me. So they just go back and just think, well, I can't escape the situation, so I might as well just go back. The other side of the coin is sometimes the women think, well, I love him. But the point of this book is to say that's not love. Love shouldn't hurt you. Love should bless you and edify you and make you feel like you're a queen. And anything less than that is not acceptable. Right. But it's just trying to explain this to the women, It's
so good that you've written this book, because some of the people who will pick this book up maybe have never heard that. Yeah. And one of the things that I found about your book when I was reading it is that it's counselling, really. It's like I'm being counselled. It's like it's therapy, because you've gone into such detail. You've done things like helpful agencies to contact, and then there's just basically the book turns into a directory then at that point, because that's another thing. Yeah. Sometimes people are going through stuff and they don't know how to start the process.
That's right.
So even helplines.
That's right.
And people to talk to, because one of the things that can happen in an abusive situation is isolation.
That's part of what the abuser uses.
It's part of the tool of the abuser, isn't it?
Definitely.
To isolate who you're phoning, who you're talking to, who you're on the phone to. So,
usually by the time the abuser is finished with a lady, she's not in contact with her friends, her family, or anyone, because he's threatened that he'll hurt them, so she's on her own facing this monster, really. So this is the whole reason of the book, to say that there are options out there. It's just that you didn't realise, but now you do. Get your life back.
Now, I could sit here talking to you forever about this subject, but obviously time is against us. This book is only £8.99. I would pay £30 for this book. The information that's in here, I would pay £30 for this. This book is £8.99. Tell us where we can get it, and obviously the details will come up, and they will also be in the description. But just tell us anyway.
Well, you can get them. They will be on Amazon, and you can get them directly from me, and my website is in there. So
great, and Diane, I just have to say thank you so much for investing yourself in this. A lot of times people have a lot of experience in a lot of specialist areas and go to the grave with that information and with that knowledge. You have really taken 11 years plus of really intense experience with this subject, and you have created a book that, to me, is timeless.
Oh, thank you so much.
This thing is timeless, guys. Surviving Domestic Violence, a simple guide to breaking free, by Diane Wilkie.
Thank you.
You have to get this book, because even if you feel you don't need it, I'm pretty sure along the way there'll be people that that need it, and sometimes you want to. It ranges. Sometimes you want to shake them. To go, what is wrong with you? Can't you see this, guys? No. Yeah. But really, just imagine if you could buy them a book and just place it in their hands and know that that's going to do the job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
When I am down and my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong